global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them. Crises precipitate change.
Secretly plotting your demise. I want to devise a...
Hello everyone, Darko 2012 here with Global Government News. I am covering an article titled Senate Passes Short-Term Patriot Act Reauthorization. So, they basically renewed the Patriot Act, and we're going to get into details. Not a big, long story, but definitely worth covering. Spying on your conversations, your phone conversations, warrantless wiretapping, reading your emails, surveilling you, all that good stuff, waiving rights. It's all in the name of terrorism. So it's all a false pretense. Yet here we are. What is it? 8 years later? 9 years later? Well, 8 years and, 3 months later after September 11th, and still the investigations, anyone that gets into the investigations of 9/11, who testifies, who says, hey, blah, 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 usually ends up getting killed or committing, quote, suicide, or getting in a, quote, accident. So, this is a big deal. And this is all built off this one day that I believe was allowed to be carried out by our government. So with that said, we have moved past the Bush years, which Bush was just a puppet like Clinton or Obama, and he just signed away like the pen was going out of style. He just signed as much as he possibly could, all in the name of security and keeping the American people safe. From who? Well, I know who. I didn't know this before I was in the Marine Corps, but I thought it was keeping the American people safe from, quote, terrorists, Middle Eastern brown people from, mostly from the Middle East. But it was about keeping the government and the people who have taken it over. It is about them keeping themselves safe from the American people once they wake up to the sham and the illusion that they are living under. And then by that time it'll be too late, because they will turn 180 degrees. All the tools and weapons and torturing and the prisons and all of that good stuff, and the drones bombing civilians and all that, it'll all be turned 180 degrees from the Middle Eastern Muslim, they like to say, I like to say brown people. I mean, I don't like saying that. They're just Middle Eastern people, right? But that's how the Americans and the British and most of the Australians and all of the, that Western mentality like to view the whole thing. So something way far away, thousands of miles away, like Vietnam, where they're totally different from us, and they're bad people, and we gotta go kill them. And they're gonna turn that 180 degrees, and they're gonna call it, instead of Muslim extremists, they're gonna call it right-wing extremists, and then we will be called domestic terrorists, quote, terrorists. So it'll all be summed down eventually to just terrorist, and then it will be the white male, whether they're Christian or not, and they'll call us extremists because our fucking government has been hijacked a long time ago, and the chances of getting it back are pretty much dead in the water, have been dead. The last real movement was in the 80s and the 90s, and what do? Well, they just get one of their own to blow up buildings with children and daycare centers in them, and then they call that grassroots right-wing extremism. So that's just how it goes. And so here we go. This was posted February 25th, 2010. And it says, the Senate passed by voice vote Wednesday night legislation that would temporarily extend 3 Patriot Act provisions set to expire at the end of this month. The bill would keep in place the Patriot Act's, quote, lone wolf business records and roving wiretap powers until February 28th, 2011. The House has yet to consider the measure. Both the House and the Senate had begun work on long-term renewals, but the bills contained major differences. The Senate Patriot Act bill would reauthorize all of the authorities. The House version would renew the records and roving wiretap powers, but not the, quote, lone wolf authority, which the government has never used. The bills also would include new oversight for the authorities. So, just looking at it, obviously, the Senate version would be jam-packed and would be the old version, you know, basically renewed everything, all the goodies that I was talking about. And the House version, which, if there's any representation in our Congress, in our government, it would be coming out of the House and not so much the Senate. So it would make sense that they wouldn't, you know, renew the whole entire thing. Now, if they were real patriots, they wouldn't pass the Patriot Act at all. But, like I said, our government is gone, so. The Senate bill was approved by the Judiciary Committee last October and is awaiting floor action. The House bill, which won Judiciary Committee approval last November, is also awaiting floor action. And finishing up here, it says, quote, I would have preferred to add oversight and judicial review improvements to any extension of expiring provisions in the USA Patriot Act. Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Patrick Leahy, Democrat from Vermont, said in a statement Wednesday night, here is a summary of the provisions that are due to expire. Lone wolf allows the government to track a target without any discernible affiliation to a foreign power, such as an international terrorist group. The provision applies only to non-U.S. persons. The government has never used it. They want to stress that too. The government has never used it. But this is what I'm getting at. My biggest thing is they're looking for lone wolves inside the U.S. They're looking for people that aren't attached to any big groups that the government hasn't already co-opted, right? They got most of the white supremacist groups infiltrated. They're usually second in command. They're feds. And they'll say, let's go blow up the federal building. Let's go up the state building, you know. And those groups, most of them are already, they're able to keep tabs on them. So, I mean, that's the thing. That's why the government doesn't like lone wolves. They don't like, and just people that are operating by themselves with no real affiliation and just getting the word out or doing whatever they're doing to prepare for the final economic collapse, because that's what any rational, intelligent person would do. They would open up their freaking eyes and they'd see what's coming, which is a complete takeover. They're just finishing over the takeover. And those people that want to resist that and not be complete slaves, they will call them terrorists and lone wolves. So, you know, they may say that they never used it before and that's for non-U.S. persons and for international terrorist groups. I can guarantee you, people, that it is all about national domestic terrorists that are U.S. persons. And I'm sure that they've used it to track them before. Business records, of course, you know, no. Could I prove that? No. But, you know, because I can't prove it, does it mean that it's not possible? So, I don't know. You guys have to make that decision. If you think the government's there to help you and protect you, well, then I have some territory and some land in California to sell you if you're interested. Business records allows investigators to compel third parties, including financial services and travel and telephone companies, to provide them access to a suspect's records without the suspect's knowledge. Roving wiretaps allows the government to monitor phone lines or internet accounts that a terrorist suspect may be using, regardless of whether others or not suspects also regularly use them. The government must provide the FISA court with specific information showing the suspect is purposely switching means of communication to evade detection. So, there you go, everybody. Patriot Act coming at you. Thank you.